So picture this. You're standing in your kitchen. Um, you open up ChatGPT on your phone just to figure out what to cook with, you know, chicken and broccoli sitting in your fridge.
Right. A very familiar scenario these days.
Exactly. And it types out this great little stir-fry recipe for you. But right at the bottom, just beneath the advice, there's this neatly labeled advertisement for a local grocery delivery app. And it even has a link to buy the ingredients.
Which is highly convenient. I mean, sure, but it also immediately triggers a very specific kind of modern anxiety.
Oh, 100%.
Ah.
Because you might initially think, oh, hey, that's handy. But your immediate next thought is, wait a second, is ChatGPT actually reading my private conversations and like selling them to advertisers?
Yeah, the privacy panic sets in.
Right. And then you wonder, is this recipe actually even good? Or did some grocery store just pay the AI to tell me to buy their more expensive ingredients?
And that reaction is exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. So, looking at the rollout that just happened, in mid-2026, OpenAI officially started testing advertisements inside ChatGPT. And they started with users in Japan.
Yeah, so today, our mission is to break down the actual engineering reality behind those two massive questions you just naturally ask. One, does the ad skew the AI's answer? And two, is your private chat basically being boxed up and shipped to advertisers?
Because there's a lot of noise out there, and we need to look strictly at the sources and see what OpenAI's stated policy is versus what people are afraid of.
Definitely. And we're also going to look at a genuinely bizarre quirk about how this whole thing is being rolled out. Because it turns out, if you own a small business in Tokyo, you can't even just buy one of these ads right now.
Which is completely different from how digital ad platforms usually work.
Right. But before we get into the corporate monopolies and all that, let's just start with what is actually happening on the screen. Because, I mean, my immediate reaction is just panic. Like, are ads completely taking over the chat interface?
Well, let's ground this in the technical rollout first. OpenAI has initiated what they're explicitly calling a pilot program in Japan. And it's really important to remember that this is a test phase.
Yep.
It is not a finalized product.
Okay. A pilot.
Yeah, in software engineering, a pilot like this means the user interface, the rules, the mechanics, they are all highly flexible. They're actively gathering telemetry on what users will actually tolerate and, honestly, what makes money. So things can and probably will shift around.
I mean, okay, but whenever a massive tech company says, it's just a test, I feel like that's usually just corporate code for this is absolutely happening. We're just making sure it doesn't crash our servers first.
That is a very fair bit of skepticism. And honestly, the data backs you up on that, because while the news cycle right now is laser focused on Japan, this is undeniably a global infrastructure shift.
Wait, really? It's not just Japan?
No, not at all. This exact same advertising pilot is actively rolling out to the United Kingdom, South Korea, Brazil, and Mexico.
Wow. Okay, so this isn't just some quirky localized experiment.
Right, and that list is in addition to the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, which already went through their own early localized testing phases.
So basically, the era of an entirely ad-free ChatGPT is just over for a huge chunk of the planet.
Pretty much.
Which naturally makes me wonder, am I going to see these ads? Because I use the free version every single day for dumb stuff like formatting emails or getting those dinner recipes. I feel like I'm right in the crosshairs here.
Well, if you are on the free tier, you are absolutely the prime demographic for this system. The paywall divide here is very, very strict. Advertisements are exclusively being served to users on the entirely free tier and users who are paying for the newly introduced low-cost Go subscription plan.
Oh, right, the Go plan. Just to put numbers to that, what is the Go plan actually running these days?
So in Japan, it sits at roughly 1,400 yen per month. And just to give you the U.S. equivalent, that's the low-cost tier that runs about $9 a month.
Got it. So it's the classic freemium model. You either pay with your wallet or you pay with your eyeballs.
Precisely. If you are paying for the premium tiers like Plus, which is around $20 a month, or Pro at $100, or any of the business, enterprise, and education tiers, you are completely firewalled from this ad system. Your interface remains pristine.
Okay, so if I'm not dropping 20 bucks a month, I'm getting ads. But please tell me there are some guardrails in place because people use this tool for everything.
There are definitely hard-coded exclusions in the system right now. First off, accounts registered to users under the age of 18 are entirely excluded from the ad pilot.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Second, OpenAI has strict policy blocks on political advertisements or really anything related to government-regulated categories.
What about sensitive stuff, though? Like, what if I'm asking the AI about a weird rash or I'm, stressed out about a medical diagnosis?
According to OpenAI's stated policy, the system is designed to keep ads far, far away from sensitive conversational topics, particularly mental and physical health inquiries.
Okay, that makes sense.
And frankly, if you look at it from an advertising perspective, major brands demand that kind of brand safety. A grocery delivery service absolutely does not want its logo appearing right under a conversation about a serious medical condition.
Right, yeah. That would be a PR nightmare. So as a free tier recipe hunter, I am basically the product, but at least kids and health topics are fenced off. Well, as of now, anyway.
Exactly, as of now.
But here is my biggest fear with all of this. I really need to know what this actually looks like on the screen. Because when I think of ads and AI merging, I just picture the AI talking to me like a walking billboard.
What do you mean?
Like, I ask for a recipe, and mid-sentence it just says, to make this stir-fry truly pop, you should use Kikkoman soy sauce, available now at your local market. Please tell me it isn't doing that.
No, it is absolutely not doing that. From a UI design perspective, the layout is strictly separated. You aren't getting product placement subtly woven into the organic sentences.
Oh, thank goodness.
And you aren't getting massive screen-blocking pop-ups either.
So where is it then? How does it show up?
It appears as a distinct, clearly labeled sponsored block, and it's placed at the very end of the AI's generated response. So the ad module sits visually apart from the text. And right now, the system typically only appends one single ad per relevant answer.
Okay, let me just make sure I'm visualizing this right. It sounds a lot like when I do a regular web search, and there's that sponsored link sitting at the top before the real results start.
Yes, very similar to that.
Or like a promoted post I just kind of scroll past on a social feed. Like, it's clearly marked, it's pushed off to the periphery,
Yeah.
and it's not pretending to be the actual advice.
That is exactly the visual language they are using. But that placement, putting the ad directly underneath the AI's advice, is exactly what triggers that first massive question we brought up earlier. Because
Yeah.
it naturally makes you wonder if the sponsor paid money to subtly bend the AI's opinion in their favor in the text above it.
Yes. Come on, we have to talk about this. Let's say Mazda is an advertiser, which we know they actually are from the early US tests.
Right. They were part of the initial pilot.
So if I go into ChatGPT and I type, what is the most reliable, affordable commuter car I can buy? Conant, you cannot seriously tell me that OpenAI expects me to believe the AI isn't going to get a little biased toward a Mazda sedan if Mazda is pouring millions of dollars into their ad platform.
I get the skepticism, I really do. But here I have to strictly separate what OpenAI claims from what users fear. Because according to OpenAI's explicitly stated policy, the advertising module has absolutely zero influence on the organic response the AI generates.
Okay, but explain that to me like I'm 5. Because if a massive car company is handing OpenAI millions of dollars, a corporate promise of zero influence sounds a little flimsy. How can we actually verify that? Like, how does it work under the hood?
The best way to understand it is to look at how the software architecture itself is built. You essentially have two completely separate engines running. First, you have the generative AI model, the core LLM.
Okay, the brain.
Exactly. When you ask about a reliable car, that core model is doing the exact same mathematical probability calculations it would do if the ad system didn't even exist. It looks at its standard training data and types out its honest, statistically probable answer. Honda, Toyota, Mazda, whatever the raw data says.
Okay, so the core brain is just doing its normal thing untouched.
Right. Only after that response is fully generated does the second engine, the ad module, kick in. It essentially scans the context of what was just talked about, looks at the available ad inventory, and says, hey, we're talking about cars, let's append this Mazda ad to the bottom of the screen.
Nice.
The core LLM is completely blind to the fact that the ad module even exists. They are ostensibly firewalled from one another at the foundational engineering level.
Okay, I can actually wrap my head around that. The AI gives me its unfiltered opinion, and then this secondary script just kind of slaps a digital sticker at the bottom before the message sends to my screen.
That's a good way to visualize it.
But wait, if the AI isn't changing its answer for the advertiser, how does the advertiser know to put a Mazda ad on my car question or a grocery ad on my recipe question? The ad module has to be reading my chat to match the ad. So is OpenAI just selling my transcript to these brands?
And that brings us right to the core privacy concern. And again, looking strictly at their official policy, OpenAI states that advertisers never receive your actual chats.
Never.
Never. The brands buying these ads only receive aggregate telemetry things like total views and total clicks across an entire campaign.
But the matching is too perfect. There has to be some kind of data connection happening behind the scenes for the ad to be that relevant to what I'm typing.
There is, but there's a vital distinction here between a machine processing your data locally and a company selling your data externally. The system absolutely does dynamically match the ad to your topic.
Okay, so how does it do that without sending my data out?
To do this, the machine's internal algorithm scans the context of your current conversation, your past chat history, and your previous interactions with other ads.
Wait, so the machine is reading my private stuff?
Yes, the machine reads your data to execute the matching algorithm. But the output of that algorithm is just a system command to show an ad. The human advertiser on the other end never gets a copy of your transcript, your name, or your personal profile.
Oh, I think I get it. Okay, it's kind of like, imagine I'm at a really fancy restaurant, and the waiter overhears me telling my friend that I really want a steak for dinner.
Okay.
So the waiter walks over and hands me a menu specifically for red wine. The waiter used the context of my private conversation to target me with a relevant offer, but they aren't, like, recording my conversation, finding out my home address, and handing a dossier over to the vineyard.
That's a perfect analogy. The waiter in this scenario is the internal matching algorithm. It leads the room to serve you the right ad, but it doesn't hand your conversation over to the restaurant owner or the wine vendor.
Okay, that makes me feel slightly better about the privacy aspect, at least according to their policy.
Mm.
But if the algorithm is doing all this matching, who is actually on the other side buying that ad space?
Well, that is a very interesting question.
Because earlier you mentioned a really weird quirk about how this is rolling out in Japan. So if I'm a local ramen shop in Tokyo, can I just go online and bid $10 on the word dinner to show up in local chats?
No, you cannot.
Yeah.
And this is where the Japanese rollout is structurally fascinating. In the United States, when OpenAI launched their ad tests, they built a self-serve ad tool.
A self-serve tool.
Yeah, meaning essentially any small business owner could simply log into a dashboard with a credit card, set a $50 budget, and launch a ChatGPT ad campaign on their own.
Right, which is exactly how Google and Facebook work. It's totally
That-
democratized.
Exactly. But in Japan, there is absolutely no self-serve option available. None.
Wow.
The reality of the Japanese pilot is that three massive advertising agencies, Dentsu Digital, Hakuhodo DY1, and CyberAgent, are the exclusive gatekeepers.
Wait, really? So a mom and pop shop is just entirely locked out. Why would OpenAI restrict their own revenue by only going through massive corporate middlemen? That seems counterintuitive.
It comes down to the brutal reality of scaling a global business overnight. Think about it. To sell ads to thousands of small businesses in Japan, OpenAI would need to hire a massive localized sales and support team.
Right, people who speak the language.
Exactly, a team that understands the culture, the language, and the local business regulations. Building that infrastructure takes years.
Oh, I see. So instead of building a sales department from scratch in Tokyo, they just handed the keys to the three biggest guys in the room.
Exactly. They essentially outsourced their entire regional sales department by partnering with established giants like Dentsu, which, by the way, essentially owns the Japanese advertising market. OpenAI instantly connects with huge, high-paying corporate brands.
That makes total business sense.
Yeah, Dentsu is already running these tests for major clients in the grocery, software, and travel sectors. They broker the buying, the placement, the running of the ads, everything.
So it's basically a VIP-only club for advertisers in Japan right now. Do we know what kind of money they're throwing around to get into these chats?
We do have some initial pricing data, actually. Dentsu is reportedly selling these placements at a rate of roughly 5,000 yen per 1,000 impressions.
Hold on, translate impressions for me, just so we're clear.
An impression simply means the ad appeared on a user's screen. It doesn't mean they clicked it, just that it loaded and was visible.
Yep.
So advertisers are paying about 5,000 yen, which is roughly 33 US dollars, every time their ad merely flashes across 1,000 different chat screens.
That seems, well, incredibly expensive for just showing up on a screen without a guaranteed click. Why are brands willing to pay that much? And honestly, why is OpenAI pushing this global expansion so incredibly fast?
Because the financial pressure surrounding generative AI is unlike anything we've ever seen in the tech industry. OpenAI isn't just running these ad tests as a fun side project. They are in a high-stakes race to turn this technology into a sustainable business before the underlying costs absolutely crush them.
It's funny, every time I ask it a silly question, like,
Yeah.
to write a poem about my dog, I completely forget that there is a massive physical infrastructure making that happen.
The compute costs are astronomical, and it's vital to understand the difference between this and a normal Google search.
Right. How is it different?
When you Google something, the system just fetches a static link from an index. It's computationally very cheap. But when you ask ChatGPT to write a recipe or a poem, the underlying neural network is calculating the mathematical probability of every single word in real time across billions of parameters.
Wow, okay.
The energy, the processing power, and the server cooling required for that one query is massive.
So every single time I use it for free, they are actively bleeding money.
Exactly. And the early numbers show why advertising is really the only logical lifeboat for them. During the initial U.S. trial, the ad business generated over $100 million in annualized revenue in just the first 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah. And currently, we're looking at a monthly ad spend on the platform hitting roughly $109 million.
Okay, so every time I ask a stupid question about formatting an email, my screen is just a microscopic fraction of a cent in a $100 million ad engine. That is staggering.
And it is just the beginning. They are actively chasing a massive $2.5 billion revenue target by the end of 2026. Furthermore, they are not alone in this race.
Right, the competition is fierce.
Competitors like Google are already integrating ads into their conversational AI overviews, and Amazon is aggressively pushing sponsored products into its AI shopping assistant.
With billions of dollars on the line, the tension between these companies just has to be boiling over.
It is entirely visible. In fact, rival AI company Anthropic, who makes the Claude chatbot, recently ran a television commercial during the Super Bowl that specifically mocked this exact ad-driven model.
Oh, wait, I think I remember that.
Yeah, they featured glassy-eyed actors giving AI-style advice right alongside loud, disruptive commercials, basically painting OpenAI's approach as a dystopian nightmare.
It was a direct shot across the bow. Didn't OpenAI's CEO Sam Altman get really defensive about it?
He did. Altman reacted quite strongly on social media. He publicly called Anthropic dishonest and labeled them an authoritarian company in response to the jabs. It shows you just how sensitive this topic is at the executive level.
Wow. Okay, so with billionaires fighting over Super Bowl commercials, massive compute costs threatening to bankrupt the industry, and global ad agencies brokering these exclusive deals, what does this actually mean for you? The everyday person who just wants to use ChatGPT to get through their afternoon. Where does this leave us?
Well, if we synthesize everything we've discussed, the core takeaway is a massive paradigm shift. ChatGPT is rapidly evolving from a simple text-based novelty into a foundational platform. It is becoming a place where people conduct searches, compare products, and ultimately make purchasing decisions.
So if you are a free or low-cost user, ads are simply the toll you have to pay to use the road.
Yes. However, it is important to note that OpenAI has built-in specific user controls to manage this new reality. You have the ability to view your entire history of ad interactions. You can clear that history at any time. You can dismiss individual ads that you find irrelevant. And you have access to a dashboard to manage your ad personalization settings.
Okay, so you aren't completely helpless, but the days of consequence-free, entirely ad-free AI for absolutely everyone are officially over. The true cost of a free AI has finally arrived.
It has.
But at least, based on what we know right now and what their stated policies are, it is being kept visually separate from the actual answers. The answers aren't secretly biased, and you do have some levers you can pull to control what you see.
That is the reality of the ecosystem today. We really hope this deep dive has helped you unpack the mechanics of AI advertising and helped you separate the engineering facts from the broader, more sensationalized speculation out there.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming along on this journey with us to figure out what is really happening inside our chat windows. But before we wrap up today, we want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Right. Looking at the analysis from our source material at Digiday, there is a fascinating friction point regarding user behavior. People use ChatGPT for incredibly intimate, vulnerable issues.
Oh, for sure.
You mentioned asking it about a rash earlier. People use it to work through complex medical decisions, navigate really sensitive relationship problems, and deal with deep financial anxieties, things you wouldn't even type into a standard Google search bar because it feels too personal.
Right. It feels like you're talking to a confidant, not just a search engine.
Exactly. And as advertisers pour hundreds of millions of dollars into this platform, they will inevitably demand better, more highly targeted results to justify spending their money. So the lingering question is, can OpenAI actually maintain this strict privacy firewall when billions of dollars are on the line?
That's the real test.
As the pressure mounts to hit that $2.5 billion revenue target, will the line between helpful contextual matching and creepy invasive targeting eventually begin to blur?
It's definitely something to think about the next time you are standing in your kitchen, trusting the AI with the details of your life, or just your chicken and broccoli. We leave that for you to decide.